The sun was barely rising, painting the sky with streaks of gold and pink when we reached the river. The air was crisp, carrying the smell of wet earth and pine. I remember that moment clearly. There was a silence that felt alive, almost sacred, broken only by the gentle rush of water over rocks. It was just a simple trip with friends, or so we thought. But that day, that river, became more than just a place. It became a lesson, a story I would carry for the rest of my life. We had been planning this trip for weeks, the kind of plan made late at night over soft laughs and half-serious promises. "Let's just get away," one of us said. And in that simple sentence, I think we all felt it, the hunger to escape, not just from the city, but from ourselves. From routines, from expectations, from the invisible weight of our own fears. The drive there was quiet, not uncomfortable quiet, but the kind that hangs in the air when everyone is lost in thought. I watched my friends in the rearview mirror, faces soft in the early morning light, unaware of what was waiting ahead. I kept thinking about how life sometimes puts these small moments in front of us, moments we almost ignore, moments that seem ordinary but later turn out to be extraordinary. When we arrived, the river stretched out like a ribbon of silver. Trees leaned over the water, their reflections shivering with the current. I took a deep breath and felt, for the first time in months, the weight on my chest lift. The water seemed alive, like it carried stories from places far beyond our understanding. And I realized this was not just a river. This was a place to learn, a place to grow. We unpacked, and soon laughter filled the air, light and effortless. Someone threw a stick into the water, and the others tried to skip stones, their attempts clumsy but joyful. I watched but also listened. Not just to the laughter, but to the conversations in broken English, sentences forming slowly, carefully, each word chosen. Like pieces of a puzzle. "What happens if it doesn't float?" one friend asked. And another replied, "Try again, feel it, imagine it flying." That day, English was more than words. It was a bridge. A bridge we were building, together, one sentence at a time. But it wasn't all easy. As the morning sun climbed higher, we tried crossing to the other side of the river. The water was calm at first, but as we stepped further, the current grew stronger than we expected. Fear settled in. I could see it in our faces, the doubt creeping in. "Maybe we shouldn't," someone whispered. But then there was a challenge in the air, a silent dare that no one spoke aloud. And in that moment, I understood something fundamental. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is a signal. Fear tells you that something important is at stake. I took a step forward, then another, heart pounding. The water rushed past my knees, then my waist. My friends followed, some hesitant, some laughing nervously to hide their anxiety. And then disaster. One misstep, a slick stone underfoot, and I slipped. The water swallowed me for a moment, cold and unforgiving. I fought to keep my head above, gasping, feeling the river's strength. I could hear my friends shouting, but it sounded far away, like I was underwater, suspended in fear and panic. But somehow, I found my footing, pulled myself to a rock, and finally, slowly, I made it across. That was the turning point. Standing there, soaked, trembling, I realized something profound. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite fear. Courage is taking one small step, then another, even when every part of you wants to retreat. That day, the river taught me that courage isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, almost invisible, like a whisper that says, "Keep going." As the afternoon unfolded, the river became our teacher. We sat on the banks, talking, sharing stories, words stumbling out in English, broken but real. We practiced, repeated, laughed at mistakes, corrected each other, and in those moments, I saw something beautiful. Real learning doesn't happen in classrooms. It happens when life challenges you, when you make mistakes, when you stretch beyond what you thought possible. The river was patient. It let us fail. It let us try again. We skipped more stones, made small bridges with logs, tested our courage on slippery rocks. Every small success, every tiny achievement felt monumental. And I realized this is how life works. Success isn't sudden. It's a series of small victories strung together, each one teaching you something new about yourself, about your strength, about your resilience. But the river also reminded us of something else: connection. Not just connection to nature, but connection to each other. In the quiet moments, I looked around and saw my friends in a new light. Their laughter was freer, their eyes brighter. We weren't just practicing English. We were learning to trust, to support, to listen. The language of friendship, I realized, is universal. It doesn't need perfect grammar or vocabulary. It only needs presence, attention, heart. By late afternoon, the sun was beginning to dip behind the trees, turning the water into molten gold. We sat together, tired, wet, hearts full. And for the first time that day, I felt complete. Not because we had conquered the river, not because we had learned new words, but because we had embraced the moment fully. We had stepped into fear, faced it, and come out transformed. The ride back was quiet again, but this time it felt different. Not empty, but full. Full of stories, full of laughter, full of lessons we hadn't realized we were learning. I thought about the river, about fear, about courage, about learning. I thought about how so many people go through life afraid to step forward, afraid to fail, afraid to get wet, literally or figuratively. And I thought, if we can cross a river with trembling knees, we can face almost anything. That day at the river stayed with me long after the water had disappeared behind us. I remembered the way my friends encouraged each other, the way mistakes became lessons, the way courage showed itself in small, quiet ways. I remembered the cold water, the slick rocks, the laughter, the learning, the silence. And I carried it into every challenge afterward, every uncertainty, every new step in life. So, if you take anything from this story, let it be this. Don't wait for fear to disappear. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Step forward. Trust yourself. Learn through your mistakes. Connect with those around you. And embrace the journey, no matter how cold or uncertain it seems. Because growth doesn't come from staying dry. Growth comes from diving in, letting the current teach you, and finding your footing in the chaos. Every time I think of that river, I remember one simple truth. Life is a series of rivers. Some calm, some raging, some shallow, some deep. And in every river, in every challenge, there is a lesson waiting. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's patience. Sometimes it's friendship. Sometimes it's simply learning to breathe, to trust, to keep moving forward. And now I leave you with this. What river are you standing in today? What fear are you facing? Remember, the current may be strong, the water may be cold, but you are stronger. Step forward and let life teach you, just as that river taught me. One step, one word, one breath at a time. And when you reach the other side, look back. See how far you've come. Feel the transformation. Carry it with you. If you take this lesson with you, if you let it guide you in your own life, you'll realize that every fear, every challenge, every river is not an obstacle, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to learn, to grow, to speak, to connect, to live fully. And in that moment, you will understand what I felt at that river. That life, in all its currents and chaos, is more beautiful than you ever imagined. So step forward, dive in, learn, fail, laugh, and rise. The river is waiting. And life is ready to teach you everything you need to know. If this story inspired you, take a moment to like, subscribe, and join me in the next journey. Because the rivers never stop, and neither should we.